Hey, it's Dan. Welcome back. You're watching I Allegedly. And I've got a good one. This is wild. You need to pay up or get out. Wow. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget we have an email address that you can get a hold of me at and send me stories like this one, which is insane. And please, there's a lot to cover in the business news as well. Jake and Sari Mabel live in Pacheco, California, Contra Costa County, a little bit above San Francisco. These people went out and were stretched real thin when they bought their house in 2005. Had to take a second mortgage out for 98 grand to be able to buy the house. So they're making payments on it. They run into tough times. He was an electrician, just like everybody else did during that time. And what did they do? Well, they decided to pay their first mortgage. Paid their first mortgage, kept it, and didn't pay the second mortgage. Eventually, when the world blew up and you had, the, Great Recession that kicked in, these people had their second mortgage written off. They got a 1099 for it, meaning that it was non-collectible as far as the bank was concerned for 98 grand. Sad. These people were going through a difficult time like so many people went through during that time, and they wrote off the debt. Now, flash forward, okay, to well over 10 years later. We're walking through this place. Is called the Muck, and it's an old famous house. They have concerts out here, all these different cool stuff. But flash forward 10 years, and they get notice from somebody that says, hey, listen, we bought the debt, which I don't understand how you can buy debt that's been written off. That's the first thing. I'm going to give you guys a little example of why I don't think it's legit in that sense. So these people get notified from a company. It's ARCPE, or as they're known in this article, ARC Financial, went out and bought almost $50 million worth of mortgages. I'm going to walk away from this guy. Almost $50 million worth of mortgages for $4.8 million. And what did they do? They went and looked at the last date that these people made a payment on and started collection proceedings, which is insane, which is not even legal. Okay? So they went out and they tried to go out and fight it. And ARC just said, no, if you don't pay us, you owe us $200,000 now for the 98 grand that you borrowed because of the interest since 2009 when the debt was written off, and they foreclosed on these people's houses. I don't know how that's legal. There have been almost 150 lawsuits for this, but these poor people were kicked out of their house and lost their home for life. Now, think about this. What if they would have sold the house during this time? Then there'd be nothing to collect. So again, these people went back and said that, hey, we bought this debt and you owe it. Now, isn't that wild? It's terrible. So they got foreclosed upon and they lost absolutely everything that they had lived for. Now, make your payment all those years since 2005, and almost 20 years later, you lose your home. Wild, 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 wild. Now, JP Morgan Chase, sold these loans. All these different banks have done this. And people are saying, wait, do you have an obligation for this? Because think about it. How can you sell a discharged debt? I don't know how you can. I talked to a lawyer this morning. I said, huh? Oh, Dan, something's wrong with this story. The debt's been discharged. They can't discharge it and then sell it. You can't do that for this loan. It doesn't make sense, right? That's the thinking. Think about this. My girlfriend died in 2022. And as I was helping to settle her estate, one thing that she had was an automobile. And there was a loan with JP Morgan Chase. So one thing I did was I went down there and I said, listen, let's figure out what she owes in the car. And, I'll write you a check and we'll be done with it. We think the car's decent, but we had no idea. Now, what I told the bank was very clear. If she owes some ungodly sum on this car, I'm going to drive it on the front lawn of this branch of JP Morgan Chase, okay? And give you the keys. So please let me know. The guy comes back and he's like, oh, this is weird. You know what? Please let me take your name and number and let me call you back. And, how did you know this woman? Blah, blah, blah. The usual stuff. So 1 week goes by, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by. And I go back to that guy and he goes, they didn't contact you from the estate department? I said, no, didn't do that. So I get a woman on the phone and she says, I want you to understand something. Your girlfriend's debt was discharged because she did not make a payment since 2016 with her cancer. There was some type of hold put on it because of her bad health. And with that, we just put it on hold until she, because she was represented by an attorney, we put it on hold and nothing was done. Okay? So what did JP Morgan Chase do? They wrote off Lisa's loan as a bad debt. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Well, could you tell me what's owed on it? No, we can't. It's out of the system. We're not allowed to collect on that. I go, what do you mean you're not allowed to collect on this? Well, who's entitled to the car? Well, I am. Okay. Well, here you go. We're going to send you the pink slip. And there's the car is considered paid in full. Isn't that wild? Now, flash forward. Imagine the car's gone. Car's broken down and been sold and blah, blah, blah. Imagine that car if they came back and said, hey, Dan, you owe us $2,000, $5,000, $12,000, whatever it was. And you could sit there and go, really? Okay. Well, how about these Mabel people doing that? Isn't that awful? Isn't that awful? So I am telling you, as people get more desperate, they're doing things like this. But for the uneducated, I've got you guys. I mean, I have so many friends. I've got so many lawyers. I had an accountant this morning write me and say, listen, here's a story I want to tell you about, but you can't use my name. I got some really good people that I could get some really solid advice from all of the time. So if this was me and I had a house that had a discharged, mortgage to it, I would be like, wait, how can they foreclose on this? So you think that these people would have put up a defense? Nope. Somebody knocked on the door and said, you're done. I've just bought your house in foreclosure. You need to move out now. Huh? They moved out. Isn't that a horrible story? Now, this goes one step further. And the Trump administration trying to raise money, and I think that this is awful. And I've made it really clear with this audience about how I feel about student loan debt. And even with my own children, do not borrow money to get an education that will not get you a job that's going to make a difference. Now, I know doctors, I know lawyers, I know engineers, I know people that, borrowed $100,000 to go get their education and paid it off. I know one lawyer that became, if you do community service, and he became a district attorney and worked there for like 10 years in one day, they forgave his debt. Good deal if you can get it. What the Trump administration is thinking about doing with the $1.7 trillion of student loan debt is selling it, all the bad debt that you're not paying on, to third-party collection agencies. I am telling you, you want no peace if you don't want this to happen. Because for those of you out there that have not, again, the Muckenthalers, isn't this a beautiful property? It's in Fullerton. I always love when you guys recommend stuff like this because I'm like, Muckenthaler, I've never been up there. I've driven by this place 1,000 times. Just a really cool. They have concerts in the summertime at the little amphitheater there. It's very cool. Let me go back to the bad news. I am telling you guys this. If you they sell your student loan debt, you are doomed because they're not going to buy this debt and not collect on it. Dun, dun, dun. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Oh. So let me know what you think. There's a lot more to cover. Now, a few things. Inflation and a vortex of competing financial responsibilities that we all have that are growing, that are unexpected, are making it so that it's more and more difficult right now to save for retirement, to get by. And we're all in that boat, guys. This is terrible, man. This really is awful because I've never seen it like this with people. I've never seen it to where people's wages just aren't going up right now and people don't have any money left over at the end of the month. So, you know, as people get older, you're going to see more and more people struggle right now with retirement. Toyota just recalled 394,000 cars, Tundras, and other vehicles because of backup cameras that make things look closer or further away than they are. And it's a huge problem because you could have, an accident. And nobody wants that. Okay. Tundra, 22 to 2025, the hybrids, the Sequoia hybrid. Toyota's a great car, but they're having difficulties. Now, BMW is doomed right now. BMW people are not spending money on the ultimate driving machine because they can't afford the ultimate driving machine right now. So stock drops 10%, sales are off. You guys see a theme with this? Jaguar was off, Aston Martin was off. Jaguar was off because they're idiots, but BMW hasn't done, the Bud Light situation, but it's just stupid. It's just crazy because nobody can afford $100,000 car right now. Why? Why do that? Why buy $100,000 car? Look at this expansive property up here. It's just kind of cool. Stuff like this. There's an art gallery inside there. I don't know if they're going to let me film inside there, so I'm just going to finish this thing out here. JP Morgan Chase, we talked about them a little earlier. Good old Jamie Dimon, our main man of the people, one of us, making $38 million a year. He says they're spending right now on AI for AI programs to get rid of employees, $2 billion a year. We talked about that yesterday, and people are like, that's kind of boring, Dan. I'm telling you guys, you're not going to deal with a human being. I need a cashier's check. Okay, blah, 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 blah. They're going to spit it out for you. You're never going to talk to anybody soon with your banking. It's going to be nuts. So, growing number of people who are living paycheck to paycheck is a huge problem. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm telling you this, guys, you need to have water on hand. You need to have food on hand. You need to have, money, an emergency stash ready for a rainy day. And some of the experts now are saying, what's the emergency stash for? You'd be better off just to pay off your debt. Okay. It's funny. A friend of mine was driving her Tesla, and some jackass in the parking lot she was taking her time to go for a spot. He went around her and ripped off the front end of her car, and her computer and everything shuts off to where the car wouldn't run. Okay. Well, we're going to determine what the fault is and determine if who's going to pay for this is where they were at. So she had to go rent a car. What if she didn't have any money to rent a car? See what I'm saying? That's where the emergency money comes in. And, oh, yeah, I'm good with that. So that's the idea of this. Now, another reason for companies that shoot themselves in the foot that we hate, that you want to sit there and you say, oh, I guess I won't be staying at Marriott anytime soon. Marriott has agreed to charge for parking at every single Marriott location across the United States. Oh, bravo. That is the greatest thing I've ever heard of. Are you kidding? So there is no Marriott free parking anymore at a hotel. I've had so many meetings in hotels. People, when I was in the medical space, they'd fly in and, oh, Dan, we're going to Orange County. We're going to go here. You're going to go there. Now imagine you have to pay for those meetings, pay to park your car. It's crazy. Imagine having an event and you want the people to pay for parking. No, it'll never work, guys. I've done enough of this stuff. I've spent a lot of money to do events, and this is going to kill Marriott. Just another reason not to stay at a hotel. So let me know what you guys think about this, but I can't stand it. This is the whole thing with this. So I know so many people that got, they had mortgages written off. They had problems during the Great Recession. I mean, I had one buddy who had 3 houses at one time, and God love him, and he's moved on. His life has been turned around. He couldn't afford a house, and then bought a house in the last year. Imagine if they came up from, you know, 15 years ago and said, hey, by the way, you owe us for that old mortgage. Isn't that awful? So please don't forget that we have a private channel called I Allegedly Live, and I love doing that content for you. It's all the stuff we can't talk about other places. And check it out today. iallegedly.tv is where you sign up, or just use the link below to check it out. Okay? You want to get a hold of me again, it's hello@iallegedly.com. And again, tell me if you want me to use your name. Tell me if you don't, but real personal experience. I get people from the oil industry, engineers, I get politicians, I get people that write me that tell me things that are wild. Don't use my name, Dan. Make something up. But here's what went down and here's how to explain it. I love that stuff, guys. Okay? So make good choices, and I'll see you soon. Okay? Thanks.